ever feel like you're just drowning in information these days? It's like we're bombarded with so much stuff all the time,
Yeah.
So that's why we try to do these deep dives,
Right.
help cut through all the noise and figure out what really matters.
Absolutely.
And so today we're going to tackle something that I think affects pretty much everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Negative thought patterns and low self-esteem.
Yeah, the big one.
And to kind of guide us through this, we're looking at this really interesting platform called Stoic.new.
Yeah, it's a fascinating space, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They describe themselves as like this collaborative space for exploring those kind of tough social issues that we often just don't want to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. Like the stuff we tend to just brush under the rug and
Exactly.
wish it away.
And I think that's what's so cool about them. It's not like they pretend to have all the answers or anything.
No, not at all.
It's more about like they're asking the right questions.
Right.
To get us thinking about this stuff,
Right.
know? And it was started by this guy, Mike, and his AI partner, which I think is kind of interesting in and of itself.
Yeah, very modern take.
And they tackle everything from mental health to societal pressure, all that kind of messy human stuff, you know?
Yeah, all the things that make us human, right?
Exactly. And you might even find yourself nodding along as you hear their discussions, recognizing some of your own experiences in there.
Definitely. And one of the things that really jumped out at me was their analogy of a heavy backpack. Have you heard about that one?
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty powerful. They describe negative thoughts and low self-esteem as this weight, this burden that you carry around constantly, and it affects like every area of your life.
Yeah. You can almost feel those straps digging into your shoulders.
I know, right? It's a great image.
It's heavy,
It
yeah.
really gets you thinking. So if we're thinking about it like a backpack, full of stuff, I think the first step is to figure out what's actually in there.
Yeah.
Like what's causing all that weight.
Right. What are we packing around?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Stoic.nu, they kind of break it down into 4 main categories, I would say.
Okay.
Childhood experiences, traumas, societal pressure, and then those mental health conditions.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating how they connect like seemingly small things from our past to these really big struggles that we face today,
Yeah.
Like, for example, they talk about how like constantly being compared to a sibling when you're a kid
Oh, yeah.
can really set you up for feeling inadequate later on.
Right. And it's not even like over criticism necessarily. It's more like, why can't you be more like your brother? Or look at so-and-so doing so well in school.
That's exactly, yeah.
And it just seems subtle, but Stoic.nu is highlighting how those messages can, even if they're unintentional, they can plant those seeds of self-doubt
Oh, absolutely.
that are really hard to shake.
Yeah, and then you add things like, trauma on top of that.
Oh, right.
They don't shy away from the hard stuff either. Talking about how experiences like bullying, abuse, or even just a significant loss, they can just chip away at your self-confidence.
It's like another rock added to the backpack. Yeah.
Totally.
And then, like it's not heavy enough already. You've got this pressure cooker of societal expectations. I mean, come on, we live in a social media world where everyone's putting their best, most curated self out there.
There's like this highlight reel phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
We're just constantly bombarded with images of success and beauty and happiness.
And everyone's on vacation all the time.
Oh, constantly.
Yeah. And so it's hard to, look at that and not compare yourself and feel like you're falling short.
Absolutely. And it's not just social media either, right?
Yeah.
And StokerGD.new points out that there's this pressure to achieve, to be productive, to be constantly striving for more.
And to be better.
Yes. Whatever that even means.
Oh, it's exhausting.
It really is.
Yeah. And they also bring up this crucial point about how all of this is tied into mental health. It's not just kind of existing separately.
Oh, yeah.
They talk about this vicious cycle where, things like depression and anxiety
Yeah.
can actually make those negative thoughts even worse.
Absolutely. And then the negative thoughts fuel those conditions, and it just keeps going.
It's a spiral.
Yeah, it's a downward spiral. When you're already struggling, mentally, it's so easy to fall into those negative thought patterns
Yeah.
and feel like you're just stuck. So I've got all these factors,
Yeah.
childhood experiences, trauma, that societal pressure, those mental health challenges.
Yeah.
It's a lot, right?
It's a lot to unpack. Yeah.
It really is. But what I think Stoic.nu does so well is show how these things that we often think of as separate issues are actually all interconnected.
Right.
They're all woven together in this complex web,
Yeah.
and that can be really tough to navigate.
It is. It is.
And it's not just identifying the causes, right? We need to go deeper than that.
Right.
It's also understanding what it actually feels like to carry that weight around.
Okay.
You know, we've talked about what's causing it, what goes in the backpack,
Yeah.
but what's it like to actually live with that every day?
So paint us a picture, like, what does it actually feel like to be walking around with low self-esteem?
Well, they talk about this like pervasive self-doubt that
Mhm.
just creeps into everything you do.
Oh, I hate that.
You know,
Yeah.
even when things are objectively going well,
Right.
you find yourself like questioning your abilities,
Yeah.
downplaying your accomplishments, like
Right.
constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Oh, totally.
And they even give this example of people who like attribute their success to luck,
Oh, yeah.
even when it's like clearly the result of hard work and talent.
I think a lot of high achievers struggle with that, you know? Yeah,
Absolutely.
like, they just can't take it in, like they're not worthy.
They can't internalize it.
Yeah, and they're just waiting for someone to be like, aha, gotcha.
Yeah, like waiting to be exposed as a fraud.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And, you know, that ties into another thing Stoking.new talks about, which is this fear of failure,
Right.
which we all have to some degree, right?
Sure.
But for someone with low self-esteem, that fear can be so intense.
Oh, absolutely.
It like prevents them from even trying.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know, think about a time when you really wanted something, but you held yourself back
Oh, yeah.
because you were so afraid of messing it up.
Oh, all the time.
That's what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
You avoid the challenge, to protect yourself from the failure.
Right.
But then you never give yourself a chance to, like, prove yourself wrong.
Exactly. And to build that confidence.
Yeah.
And even when you do succeed,
Okay.
Stoking.new points out how hard it can be to actually enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
You're so focused on, you know, what could go wrong or what you did wrong in the past
Right.
that you just can't be present in the moment.
That's really sad.
It is. It's a struggle.
Like you've worked so hard for something, but then you can't even let yourself feel good about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this all feeds into something else they talk about, which is that social withdrawal.
Oh, right.
You know, you start pulling away from relationships.
Yeah.
Even with people who care about you.
Yeah.
Because you just feel unworthy of their love and attention.
It's a cycle.
It is. It's like you feel unworthy.
Yeah.
So you isolate yourself, which just makes those feelings even worse.
Makes you feel more lonely and more unworthy.
Exactly.
It's just a bad spiral.
Yeah, and this is where Stokey.Soundy makes this really important point.
Okay.
To say, this isn't just a personal problem, you know.
Right.
This affects everyone.
Right.
Low self-esteem has these consequences that extend way beyond the individual.
Like how? In what ways?
They talk about the burden on healthcare systems.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you're not taking care of yourself mentally,
Right.
you're more likely to develop other problems.
Yeah. And more serious problems that need more intense intervention, probably.
Yeah, exactly, which then gets expensive.
Right.
But it goes beyond just like the financial cost, right?
Yeah. What else?
Stooking Johnny talks about this idea of untapped potential.
Okay, what do they mean by that?
Well, they argue that when you're stuck in those negative thought patterns,
Yeah.
you're less likely to contribute fully.
To, like, society.
Yeah, to your community, your work, your relationships.
Yeah.
It's like all your talents and abilities,
Right.
they're just sitting there.
In waste.
They're like, imagine a world where everyone felt empowered
Right.
to pursue their passions, you know,
Yeah.
to use their gifts
Yeah.
to make a difference.
So it's not just that, like, the person's suffering.
Right.
It's that we're all missing out.
Exactly. We're missing out on what they could bring to the world.
Yeah.
It's a missed opportunity for everyone, really.
That is pretty profound.
It is. It really highlights how important this issue is
Yeah.
and how we need to be addressing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Both personally and as a society.
Absolutely, on all levels.
Oh.
And the good news is
Okay.
Stooking.new has some advice on that too.
Okay, good. Okay, so we've kind of explored the causes, like what puts all that junk in the backpack,
Right.
and then what it actually feels like to walk around with that day to day.
Right. The lived experience.
Yeah, and those, ripple effects that it has on everyone, not just the person.
Yeah, it's bigger than that.
But what can we actually do about it?
Yeah, where do we start?
It feels overwhelming,
Yeah.
Like, where do you even start to address something like this?
Well, the good thing is Stooky.new doesn't just leave you hanging, you know?
Right.
Like, here's the problem, good luck.
Right.
They actually offer some pretty practical advice on, what you can do,
Okay.
both for yourself and for people you care about.
Okay, so they break it down
Yeah.
into, like, what loved ones can do
Right.
and what you can do for yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, and I like that because it's all about action, right?
It is, yeah.
Not just like, oh, it's a problem. It's like, here's what you can do.
Exactly.
So let's dive into that.
Let's
Let's
see.
start with, like, how we can support the people in our lives that might be dealing with this.
Okay, good idea.
Because I think sometimes we feel helpless.
Right.
We're like, we want to help, but we don't know what to do.
Yeah, we don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And I think Stoic.dnu has some great advice on that.
Okay.
One of the most important things they emphasize is just listening
Oh, yeah.
without judgment.
Oh, that's so hard.
It is. It can be tough,
It is.
but just create a space,
Right.
where the person feels safe to talk about how they're
What
feeling.
about feeling judged? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, just having someone who truly hears you
Oh, yeah.
can be so validating.
It's huge.
It is.
Yeah, and I think we often want to jump in and give advice.
Oh, yeah, we do. We want to fix it.
Yeah, but Stoic.dnu is like reminding us that sometimes the best thing you can do is just be there. Just listen and validate.
And acknowledge their pain.
Yeah,
Instead of saying it's not that bad or, oh, you're overreacting,
right.
just try saying, I can see why you're feeling this way.
I hear you.
Yeah, this makes sense.
It's valid.
Exactly. It's about letting them know that, you see them,
Right.
you hear them, and what they're feeling is real.
Okay, so you let them feel heard,
Right.
and then what?
And then you can start to encourage them
Yeah.
to take some small steps
Okay.
towards, feeling better.
So not like a whole huge plan,
No, not at all.
just tiny things.
Yeah, little changes.
Okay.
Maybe it's talking to a therapist
Okay.
or starting a new hobby.
Right, something fun.
Yeah, something that just brings them joy.
Right.
Or even just 5 minutes of self-care each day.
Okay.
Just little things to start with.
Whatever feels manageable.
Exactly. And Stoic.dnu really emphasizes the importance of patience here, too.
Oh.
Change takes time.
Yeah.
And there's going to be ups and downs along the way.
Setbacks.
Yeah, you're not going to get it right every time.
Right.
It's about just being that steady support.
Yeah, like you're there for them no matter what.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's for others. What
Mhm.
about for ourselves?
Yeah, good question.
If we're the ones, struggling with low self-esteem,
Yeah.
what can we do?
Well, Stoic.dnu has some good ideas there, too.
Okay, hit me.
One that I thought was really good is writing your thoughts down.
Oh, interesting.
Like actually getting them out of your head and onto paper.
Okay.
So you can see them,
Right, because it's all jumble up in there.
totally.
Yes.
And once you've written them down, you can actually start to challenge them.
Okay, yeah.
Ask yourself, is this thought really true?
Is this even real?
Yeah. Is there any evidence for this?
Yeah.
It's like putting those thoughts on trial.
You're a lawyer.
You're the
You're
judge.
judging.
Yeah. Can they hold up under scrutiny?
It's so simple, but it's so smart,
It is, yeah.
It's like you're not even aware of those thought loops half the time.
Right. They just keep spinning.
Yeah.
And writing them down forces you to, really look at them.
Yeah, you got to confront them.
You do, yeah.
And they talk a lot about self-compassion.
Yeah, this is a big one.
And I feel like a lot of people hear that and they're like,
Ugh, that sounds cheesy.
yeah, like, what does that even mean?
Right, they think it's like letting yourself off the hook or something.
Yeah, but they don't mean it like that.
No, not at all.
So what do they mean?
They mean treat yourself with the same kindness
Okay.
that you would give to a friend.
Oh,
If your friend was struggling,
yeah.
you wouldn't be like, well, you messed that up, you're terrible.
Right, you be supportive.
You'd be like, hey, it's okay, we all make mistakes.
Right.
And that's what they mean by self-compassion.
So instead of beating yourself up, you're like,
Right.
hey, I'm trying, it's okay.
Exactly, you're giving yourself that pep talk.
Yeah, I like that.
And along with that, they talk about, challenging those negative thoughts
Yeah, okay.
with more realistic and positive ones.
So give me an example.
Okay, so let's say, you're thinking, I'm worthless.
Yeah.
They're like, instead of that, try saying, I'm doing my best and that's enough right now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's about shifting that inner dialogue.
From the negative to like something a little bit more encouraging.
Yeah, you're your own cheerleader.
You're rooting for yourself.
Exactly.
And sometimes we need a little more help, right?
We do, yeah.
Like we can't just do it all on our own.
And that's where they talk about seeking professional support.
Okay.
Like seeing a therapist or a
Yeah,
counselor.
right.
Because they can really help you unpack some of that stuff.
Like all that baggage.
Exactly.
And they also talk about the mind-body connection.
Yes, this is important.
Like it's not just all in our heads.
Right.
Our bodies play a role too.
They do. And Stoic.uni points out how things like, exercise,
Yeah,
eating well,
right.
getting enough sleep,
All the good stuff.
yeah, it can really affect your mental state.
So it's not just about thinking your way out of it.
Right, it's taking care of the whole you.
It's everything.
It is, yeah.
Okay, so we're challenging those thoughts, being kind to ourselves,
Right.
maybe talking to someone.
To give our bodies.
Right. And Stoic.uni ends with this really cool piece of advice.
Okay, what's that?
Focus on what you can control.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in all this stuff
The stuff you can't change.
that you can't change.
Yeah.
But they're like, shift your focus
You're right.
to the things that you can do.
The things you have power over.
Your actions, your choices.
Exactly.
Yeah, even if they're small.
They make a difference.
Right. You're taking back your power.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're not just like a victim of your circumstances.
Yeah, I like that.
And that brings us back to the final message from Stukidore.ne, which I just loved.
Okay, what is it?
They just say, you are enough just as you are.
It's so simple, but it's so powerful, too.
It is.
Yeah, it's easy to just read that and be like, yeah.
And then keep scrolling.
But like to actually let it sink in.
To really believe it.
That's the challenge.
Yeah, that's the work.
So I want to leave you with this question.
Okay.
What would it take
Mm-hmm.
for you to truly believe that?
Good question.
That you are enough?
It's worth pondering, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And maybe there's not an easy answer.
Right.
But even just asking yourself that question
Right.
is a step in the right direction.
It is. It's like that first step to unpacking that backpack.
Yeah, and remember, you don't have to do this alone,
Right. Reach out to people, talk to someone,
Yeah, find your support system.
and be kind to yourself.
Oh, always.
Because you deserve it.
You do.
So that's it for our deep dive into Stokidit.nu. Until next time.
See you then.